Hello everyone. So we have just started to plan and prepare our vegetable garden for this year, and I thought it might be quite a good opportunity to talk to you about growing your own food. I am definitely not an expert, but I have gathered quite a lot of experience in the past few years growing veg and some fruit in quite a few different places and environments, from back when we still lived in London, windowsills, a small balcony, then a quiet, shaded little garden, a communal allotment in the city, to now here where we live in the countryside, where we have a fairly big vegetable garden to work with. So yeah, I'm really excited to share what I've learned with you, because it's something that I find really, really enjoyable and satisfying, and it's just exciting to see everything grow and then to harvest it and eat your own food. I hope you enjoy.
It's easy, but expect some things to fail. Every failure just teaches you something. Think about what you're trying to achieve. You won't grow enough food to support yourself, so what is it you want to focus on? Things that are a joy to grow, and where the harvest you get will make a real difference for you. For example, things that are expensive to buy fresh, like raspberries and rocket, or where a handful can really transform a meal, like fennel and chilies. If you work hard to grow potatoes, when you have cheap, good potatoes available, it just won't be as satisfying. Think about the sun, the water, soil, space, and time available to you. You will have an abundance of some and very little of others. There are always things that you can grow well in your situation. Work with what you have, not against it. Don't waste energy trying to grow things that are not going to work. If you are not going to be able to water every day in the hottest part of summer, don't plant things that will need that. If you don't have several months of strong sun, don't plant things that need that. Here are a few of my favorite vegetable plants that will work almost anywhere. They're easy to grow, have a high success rate, and a pretty big yield as well. Perfect if you're a vegetable growing beginner. Courgettes or zucchinis are one of my favorite things to grow. Last year, our 3 courgette plants were the gift that kept on giving. They grew so fast and plentiful, we barely managed to keep up in the kitchen. There's lots of tasty beans and peas that are easy to grow. We've had a lot of success with runner beans, sugar snap peas, and morge too. One of the absolute easiest leafy greens to grow is chard. Chard grows incredibly fast, lasts throughout winter if you don't get too much snow, and seems to be pretty slug resistant. Last year we planted lots of rainbow chard, which also added a fun pop of color to our vegetable garden. Radishes, beetroot, you can eat the leaves as well as the root, and carrots have worked really well for us too. They tend to be smaller and a bit more knobbly than what we're used to from supermarkets, but way more flavorful. There are so many different tomato varieties to choose from. Many of them are so sweet, flavorful and juicy, a stark contrast from the watery blandness we're used to from lots of supermarket tomatoes. We also really enjoyed growing lots of different leafy greens, like little gem lettuce, pak choi, salad leaves, rocket, landcress and kale. Here are a few honorable mentions of things that we either have enjoyed growing on occasion or are planning on growing this year. Cucumbers, chilies, potatoes, aubergines, garlic and squashes. Don't be a perfectionist. Learn to love leaves with holes in, and veg that's smaller than in the supermarket. Accept you will share your bounty with the bugs and the birds. Weed enough to stay on top of things, but not so much that it makes you miserable. Don't try to optimize. With twice the effort, we could probably get about 10% bigger plants. But why bother? It's supposed to be fun. Swap and share to save money. In the space we have, we found 3 courgette plants produced more than we could eat. So if you grow 20 seedlings and your friends grow tomatoes, you can just swap. Or you can adopt a few chickens to help out. If you lack space and time, eat things young and small. For example, a packet of beetroot seeds might tell you to sow them 10 centimeters apart. But if you intend to eat young mini beets, you can sow them much closer together. What if you don't have a garden, but you still want to grow your own food? Well, garden cress, salad leaves, radishes, chili peppers, and small tomato plants can all be grown in a window box, ideal on a balcony or even a windowsill. Last year we also grew oyster mushrooms at home indoors, and I just started sprouting some seeds as well. You have plenty of options. If you have little space, growing herbs can be a great way to add some homegrown flavor to your meals as well. I also love making my own herbal tea concoctions, and I'm planning out a little herbal tea section for our herb garden this year. You can also grow edible flowers to add to your herbal tea or to garnish your salads and baked goods. There's so many beautiful edible flowers in our garden, so I decided to cut a few of them and decorate the brownies. And I think I'm gonna go for a kind of blue, purple, pinkish color scheme. Here are a few tips on planning out your vegetable garden and your planting timeline. Let's say you have a packet of 200 lettuce seeds. The temptation might be to plant all of them at once, but maybe instead you could plant only a dozen or so every few weeks from now until autumn. So you'll always have plenty of lettuces to hand, but you'll never drown in them. This is true of lots of different plants, pretty much any veg which has a long growing season. This year we are working on planning out our vegetable garden to give us consistent harvests throughout spring, summer and autumn. And some plants, like kale, will even last into winter. How to best deal with plant pests and diseases. From experience, it is very hard to get either under control once they've started to attack and take over. It's best to plan ahead. For slugs, our main competitors where we live, it really helps to plant either in raised beds or inside a walled area. You can also cut down high grass and weeds bordering your veg patch, because slugs tend to hide in there. We cut down everything about a good meter or two around our beds. We also cover lots of our leafy veg with chicken wire to protect it from birds. If there are rabbits or deer in your area with access to your garden, then you really might want to build a fence around your plants. Blight can affect potatoes and tomatoes, and it significantly reduced our tomato harvest last year. So this year we have selected the most blight-resistant potato and tomato varieties. Preemptive measures just work best. Remember to be mindful. Growing your own food can feel so satisfying and grounding. I find that it's really not just about the produce. It's much more of a mindset or a kind of mindful lifestyle that you're nurturing. Commercial growing is about getting food to the supermarket, but you are allowed to eat straight from the plant. That's what we tend to do with half of our crop. This is what I've learned about storing the food you grow for the colder months. We don't have a lot of freezer space, so I've started to get into pickling and fermenting. Last year I made sauerkraut, I pickled chard stems and cucumbers and steeped berries and sloes in gin. We also pressed apples and pears to make juice, And of course you can make jams and preserves and chutneys, and store potatoes, garlic, onions and certain apple and pear varieties in dark, cool, dry places for several months too. I really hope this inspires you to grow some food yourself. If you enjoyed this video, liking, subscribing to my channel or signing up to my Patreon really helps me create more. And I will see you next time.